Ladies and gentlemen, in this analysis, I want us to look at this shameful U-turn. And I want to call it shameful U-turn because this is something that ought not to have reached where it has gotten. On 30th June 2021, former President Uhuru Kenyatta flew to Paris in France, and it was on a 2 days official visit, or official tour, where he met President Macron, and that is the video you're seeing on your screen. And when he came out of it, he actually attended a business forum and met different investors from that place. And when Uhuru Kenyatta came back, he bagged a 160 billion Mau Summit Road construction deal that was supposed to start later this year, 2022, in September, after the feasibility tests and all that went on. Sometimes when you review speeches of Uhuru Kenyatta was more Pan-Africanist. And while he was more seen as a person who was pro-China, and one of the things he did was he had hands on what Africa needed. Uhuru was big on infrastructure. I know in Uhuru 2, Jubilee 2, we really had a problem, and we've had a big problem with economy. And that is where William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza team staged their campaign that economy had been destroyed. But that story was actually being told halfway. It was half-baked. Because one thing that you are not being told is that Uhuru was big on infrastructure. I will once profile infrastructural projects that Uhuru initiated. So, and I remember the discussion about high loan. We were all being told we have loans, we are doing that, we are doing this, but we are not being told what that loan is doing. This was one of it. And I just want to listen to President speaking in France a bit.
In a much more affordable manner, in a much more reachable manner. So technology and the development of applications is an area of huge potential. Second, we are also talking about an infrastructure gap. Huge potential existing on the continent in terms of connectivity, road, rail, infrastructure. Just yesterday, myself and President Macron witnessed the signing of a contract with one of your big companies here, who are investing 1.3 billion euro into road projects. A road project, and the first and the largest road project done by private sector. Usually we're here banging on Emmanuel's door seeking financial assistance. But it was wonderful yesterday to see the private sector step up and have the confidence to invest in Kenya, to invest in infrastructure, with the realization that the returns are going to be good, with the understanding that with the stability that we have in our country.
So that was a glimpse of his speech when he was there. The 233-kilometer project that deal was handed over to a French consortium of companies known as Vinci Highways, SAS, Meridian Infrastructure Africa Fund, and Vinci Concessions, SAS, which is a company that has responsibility in building, design, finance, construction, operate, and maintenance of highways. That deal was made through PPP. It was a model of PPP, public-private partnership. Construction of it was involving also construction of a 4-kilometer elevated bypass through Nakuru City, and the building improvement of interchanges along the highway was provided as part of it. So Mau Summit Road was actually adopting an open toll system once the road is upgraded. What that means is that there were going to be different collection centers in Rironi, Gilgil, and Sobea, and that these people are going to, there will be tariffs, there will be revised tariffs, so that the investors that had injected their money there will also scoop back their fee. That project was put on hold in September. Immediately, William Ruto came to power. The project was supposed to start on September, and that was the month President Ruto was sworn in. But during that activism against Uhuru Kenyatta, that project became affected and it was stalled. So I want us to look at it, and this, for me, I know people are saying, Kevin, are you shocked? I'm not shocked too, because there have been a consistent attempt to rub off Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. Let me tell you, there is some brainwash. I want you to look at this photo. On the screen, this guy has William Ruto there. You can also see Jomo Kenyatta and Moi, and then William Ruto. Someone has been, there is Jomo Kenyatta, there is Moi Kibaki, Jomo Kenyatta, and Ruto. Someone has been left out there. That person is Uhuru Kenyatta. I got that I got that photo. Those are portraits in an office of a gentleman known as Fred Nyaga. Fred Nyaga was given a job by President Ruto recently, and I think he hails from Embu. I can tell you that there have been so much of activism against Uhuru Kenyatta, and people just want to deface Uhuru Kenyatta. I can say that the hate level of Uhuru is beyond measure. It's beyond measure. That gentleman there was given a job by President Ruto recently. So when I saw in Twitter, I got that photo and I was like, okay, if you are putting on the photos of the presidents, mbona usiweke Uhuru Kenyatta? He left out Uhuru Kenyatta, and that's why Kenya Kwanza brags that they want to take Kenya where Kibaki left it. And it's, I don't know. I don't know whether I can call it cultic or what is it, but there is that bit of that following. You cannot rub the fact that Uhuru Kenyatta was a fourth president of the Republic of Kenya. You cannot change that. Now, Ruto's initial decision to halt that project was reported to have been largely influenced by the former administration's decision to award the contract to the company. So he had an issue with that company. What I am wondering here is, the government of Kenya is not injecting even a single shilling in it. The guys are financing it themselves. It is being financed the way SGR was financed, through PPP. Then these people get away, they can recoup their money at the end of the project, when now the road is being used. So why, and that is what I think even the President Macron team were getting worried, that why would Kenya stop construction of that road, or rather have a problem that is being handed over to company X, while it is not our taxpayers' money that is being spent. Those are people generating their own money and they're pumping it in. And again, you come back and you say, you also wonder what's going on here. Sometimes in this country, we are just our, vitu zingine unajua sasa hii ni gani. Wewe hata haupeani pesa. Hata si pesa yake inatumika. It's like, mtu anakuambia, mimi nakuja kujengea hii nyumba. Lakini yeye nyumba anakujengea atumii pesa yake, anatumia pesa yake. But tena unakuja unamwambia, hiyo pesa yako unatumia usipatie hii kampuni pesa. You know. It's very ridiculous. It was very ironical. But the president have a point in terms of, that's also one thing I see. Two things, reservations of this project. One is on the ridiculous, the open toll system, where people would be paying some money, some standardized tariffs, where maybe depending on the type of the car and the size, some will be paying 6 bob per kilometer, or maybe 20 per kilometer, and so that depends. So if that is to be negotiated early, it makes a lot of sense. But remember, in terms of tariffs, transport tariffs also change according to fuel. So it's not only that road, there are also other factors into it. So negotiating that early makes little sense, but it has little impact because in terms of the cost of transport, it fluctuates depending on fuel as one of the biggest input. So, I understand that the president made a U-turn after announcing that that project had halted, which according to me was just activism to, you don't want to associate with the Uhuru Kenyatta. That will be the main point. But it seems Macron made a call because the French ambassador met Rigathi Gachagua early, some few days ago. They visited Rigathi Gachagua. And after that, the project resumed. There are now reports that the project is going to resume. So Macron could have reprimanded the President William Ruto, on this issue. Because this is something that had been signed and the deal had been agreed. It was to be done. What would change somewhere was really not getting home. And ladies and gentlemen, kindly subscribe to our channel, but I don't know why I tell you late. But kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and also like our video. We try to do our analysis and give you fresh content. Now, there are three things here that are going on, and I just want to say them straight. Number one thing here is there is a scramble for kickbacks on these giant projects. We have, there is a Green City, Nairobi. There is the Grand High Dam, the one in bordering Kitui, Tarakaniti. There is Dongo Kundu. We have Kwanza City. We have a couple. The extension of SGR. One thing you're not being told about these things is these are also elephant projects, also cash cows, where government officials and people want to take kickbacks. President Ruto knows very well that this is a project that had been hatched in the previous administration. Now, if you're to start that process afresh, you bring in new faces, you bring in new deals, and now you start the kickbacks afresh. That would return this country backward. Why so? Even if the people that had benefited, let's be in the shoes of that investor. It's normal, it's common practice in the African context for people to bribe their ways and balloon exorbitant fees here and there. But that is their money. That is their money. So even if they're saying they're spending a lot, 160 billion, that is their money. It's not our money. However, it touches on, they are supposed to own the road for 26 years. We'll try to look at that later on. So that's one of the things why Ruto was actually cancelling it. Number two, there are other investors that maybe were promised this project, still from the same country. Because I know that there are also other institutions and financial institutions that could still fund these projects, that could still do these projects. One thing I see is a possibility that when Ruto came in, there are those people he worked with, or there are those people who supported him. And in one way or the other, they are trying to hijack that project, and Ruto then is held hostage to try to please that group. And lastly, there is a consistent, and it's very unfortunate, to kill Uhuru legacy. As I said somewhere in this video, we may demonize Uhuru Kenyatta on lecture on democracy, the last few days, democracy. You can't demonize him on economy. He has said that some of these things happened because there are international forces. And yes, 2 to 8, we've also come to power. Nothing has changed. We are only giving long-term solutions, but we don't have quick fixes. So even if these problems were there, then Uhuru could not fix them immediately. But infrastructural projects that Uhuru initiated that would give Uhuru Kenyatta visibility and keep his legacy are now being taken down. Remember, do you know that being president was pro-youth during his campaigns? The Nairobi Festival, where Uhuru Park was launched in fresh after the construction by the NMS under Uhuru Kenyatta, president never stepped to that place. I can tell you, if that was a project, ungemwona, but now selectively, what is speaking. You could not go to inspect such while we know that there is a subsidized fertilizer that is going to be launched. How do you go to launch a subsidy program? Surely. So tomorrow, if the price of unga will be done, will you also launch subsidy on unga? we are going to launch everything. I'm wondering, the president is going to Tanzania to launch fertilizer subsidy, subsidized fertilizer. And I'm like, okay, man, it's politics of optics. Populism, populism, populism.